everybody, welcome back to another episode of Vancouver Real. My name is Mike Zaremba, and as always, we're podcasting here at a float house at 70 West Cordova Street. And to my right, manning the helm, is my brother Andy.
Hello, everybody. It is great to be back, and I am very excited for today's podcast.
Yeah, me too.
This is something that's been in the works, well, for a couple of years nearly.
Well, we've been talking about it. It's always been thrown out there. But before we get to today's guests, and I'll say plural there, we just want to obviously put a little plug in for Float House, which has made this podcast possible. And floathouse.ca is the website. Actually, floathouse.com now, which is a whole other thing. Ridiculously overpriced.com that we had to buy. But it happened, and we got it, and it's magical. It makes a difference. No, not really, but floathouse.ca, and if you want to use the promo code VEGAN, you can save 20% off a single float. And also, we'll give one more shout out to our brother Omid, who runs Omega Point YouTube channel, who helps us put these podcasts together. Omega Point is a really cool platform where he makes these montage-style videos that have some pretty deep messages, really, that kind of go down to the roots of humanity and culture and basically everything that's going wrong. But so if you want that kind of reality check, go check out Omega Point YouTube channel and go subscribe. And also, if you do enjoy this episode or any episode of Vancouver Real, please write us a review on iTunes. It does help us quite a bit. We do get lost in the sea of podcasts out there. So if you want to throw us a buoy, please do. That'd be awesome. And you know what? Let's launch into this. It's going to be super fun because today we have our neighbors. just around the corner, and we're going to get into their story a little bit more, but we have Zach Berman and Ryan Slater from the Juice Truck.
Oh, yeah.
In the house joining us. And first of all, guys, welcome to Vancouver Real. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Cool. And, we kind of, we ran into you guys initially when we were first in construction, really. We came and introduced ourselves. I think Zach was at the truck at the time. You were still manning the truck.
Yeah.
So, you guys you're in evolution. Your evolution as well.
Totally.
But Zach was still at the truck. Ryan was, I don't know where you were, but you were at the shop.
I was manning the productions facility.
Yeah. And, I guess I want to get started with, the Juice Truck story, which is actually probably relatively known if you're in Vancouver and you know it. But from you guys, from what I understand, was you guys were backpacking all over the world, and then you guys were on this epic adventure, and you got lost in a snowstorm.
Yeah.
And the only thing that saved you was a juice stand. Is that right?
Close to, yeah.
Wow.
That's the gist of it.
They saw this juice stand, they clawed their way up to it.
The juice was at the top of Everest, and we just needed to
Ryan
get there.
had Zach on his back, super dehydrated.
Yeah.
No, but that's not entirely true. But I don't know if you guys want to just kind of give us that little story, because it's a really cool story, and we'll go from there.
Cool. Yeah. So Ryan and I have been friends since probably around grade 5. Ryan's dad was our soccer coach, so we got to know each other through soccer, and became good friends in high school, and went to different universities. But by the time university ended, we decided that we're going to go backpacking for a year, starting in Nepal. So we worked for a year and saved up some money to go backpacking, and started with Nepal. And the first trek we were going to do was the Annapurna circuit. So about 6 or 7 days into the trek, we got snowed in one of the bigger Annapurna towns called
So
Manang.
my story wasn't that far off.
No, it's close. It's close.
Damn.
It's close. We're getting there.
Cool.
And while we were there, we noticed the locals were all drinking this very vibrant orange-colored drink that looked kind of like what Sunny D would look like here. We actually thought maybe it was Sunny D when we first saw it. So we started asking them, what are you guys drinking? What's the deal with your daily concoction? So they told us it was from sea buckthorn juice. From a sea buckthorn berry that they're making juice out of. And at the high altitude, there wasn't much that was growing. So they were making this juice, and from the berry, they were getting most of their daily nutrients that they needed. It was high in omegas, which was rare for a berry, high in iron, which was rare for a berry, high in vitamin C and A. So they were drinking it every day, and it was kind of like their vitality juice to a degree. So
is that native today?
Sea buckthorn, it's a high altitude. It grows in the mountains, so it grows in Pakistan, it grows in Nepal, it grows in parts of India. There's parts of Russia that it grows.
Cool.
And interestingly enough, they've started to grow it, which isn't high altitude, but they figured out how to grow it in Saskatchewan. So they're starting to
Whoa.
grow
That's
it there.
wicked.
Sounds like a bit of a superfood.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So it was kind of from that point where we realized like how cool this berry was, and we'd never heard of it. And we kind of asked ourselves, how many more kind of superfoods are there out there that we've never heard of? So it kind of became our daily quest while we traveled to
Cool.
look out for different, while we're in India, different Ayurvedic stuff. While we're in Sri Lanka, kind of similar throughout Southeast Asia, we were just kind of looking for
Cool.
what the locals were having for their daily remedy. So that kind of kickstarted the idea for our business.
Right. And that was what year? 2010?
That was 2010. Yeah.
Cool. And then jump forward, you guys came back 2011. And then what month did you guys open the juice truck? And I'll just say first, the juice truck is thejuicetruck.ca, and they were the first. Well, it says on your website, first one in Vancouver, but I also read somewhere you guys were the first in Canada, cold pressed juice.
Yeah.
You can confirm that?
Yeah. When we had
Cool.
launched cold pressed juice, I hadn't really taken off outside of, say, cities like New York and LA. Canada hadn't seen it yet. And we were fortunate at that time where food trucks were becoming super popular in the US as well.
Right.
And with the cold pressed juice movement just kind of blossoming, we kind of put both those ideas into one concept. And I think it was kind of the right time and the right moment in Vancouver to introduce something new. And that was, I think the first time it was July of 2011 when we actually launched.
Cool.
Yep.
And then how long did it take you guys to go from the business plan, let's say, or like how long did it take you to make your business plan and then to go from the business plan to the opening of the truck? Like, cause and the fabrication of that whole thing, like, that was a pretty crazy. I mean, any startup's crazy. It's nuts. It sounds so easy on the outside. Like, yeah, I'll make a juice truck. Okay, go for it. You know?
Yeah.
Like, how long did that kind of process take you guys?
It's kind of funny. We got back by September 2010, and we're like, let's do it. Let's go for it. And we're like, we'll write a business plan. And we wrote like a paragraph and
Nice.
went to the banks, and they just kind of like laughed at us. They're like, that's not a business plan. That's like a synopsis
idea.
you'd read on the back of a.
It's a tweet.
Yeah, that's a tweet. It's not. It wasn't even a tweet. It wasn't long enough. So we realized that a paragraph wasn't a business plan, and we needed to get serious about it. So we spent the better part of 3 months working with Small Business BC and just meeting at coffee shops, writing like I think it ended up being like a 45-page business plan that is, if we go back and look at it, it's pretty true to the kind of trajectory that we've taken to today. So
Did you follow a template?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. We went through a program which used to be called Futurepreneur, or CYBF, now it's Futurepreneur, and it kind of forces you to put together like a more concrete business plan, and provides like some early seed funding, which we then took to the bank in order to kind of finance everything, because we had come back from traveling, so we actually had no money at all.
Yeah.
Right.
So I always tell everybody our parents had to put money in our bank account one night so it looked like we had money, and then they took it out the next day just to satisfy the bank.
Nice.
Nice.
We faked it.
Yeah.
That's, you know,
I like that.
You got to bend the rules a little bit.
You got it.
It's just the nature of things, it seems like. But that's really cool. That's cool. And then how long? And so when did you guys end up buying? You opened July. You said. When did you buy the truck? Because the truck is pretty iconic. When did you buy the truck, and how long did it take you to do that fabrication?
I think it took about, we bought the truck, I think, like end of January.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
Nice.
for about 4 to 5 months, that was the build out time. The company we had chosen had just started getting into the food truck game. We were actually one of the first
I
trucks
think we're
that they
their
really
second
built.
truck that they
Yeah,
built.
so they were
Oh,
kind
wow.
of new to the game.
Right.
And so it took maybe a
Pros
little
and
bit
cons,
longer.
I'm sure.
Yeah. For us, I think it gave us a little bit more time to perfect the recipe approach to our business. And we
Figure out how to use a cold press juicer.
yeah, we spent a lot of time in Zach's mom's kitchen, just literally testing every single day,
Cool.
trying to understand really how to make cold pressed juice, because we were actually and still are one of the few companies in North America that use the Norwalk cold presser per order.
Okay.
And so it was quite a big learning curve because the machine wasn't really designed for fast paced juicing. So we sort of pioneered the techniques, and they still carried on to how we approach cold pressed
Yeah.
juicing now.
Oh, cool. Okay, so why don't you take us into that a little bit of what is cold pressed juice versus other types of juicing, and then like that whole little bit you just talked about there. What does that even mean?
So cold pressed juice actually started, I believe, in the late 20s. Dr. Norman Walker was a bit of a radical doctor that was trying to heal through health, which shouldn't be radical at all. It should be it should be what we all
Preventative medicine?
Yeah. Whoa. So he invented this hydraulic cold press juicer originally for cancer patients in palliative care, and it was called the Gerson therapy. It was part of the Gerson therapy treatment. So it was basically a juice diet to help cure and prevent cancer. So it was used on that kind of side of things for about 40 years before anybody started using it commercially. And then Hollywood, I think it's Beverly Hills Juice Bar were the first people to use it commercially, and I think they launched in the late 70s.
Crazy.
And
cool.
they're still they're booming business in LA. And then for whatever reason, it didn't really catch on yet. So it wasn't until around 2007, 2008 when Blueprint Cleanse based out of New York started using it commercially for cleanses and for grocery stores and stuff like that. The difference between that and the juicer that you might see at Whole Foods are
that centrifuge one, the shredder or whatever, right?
So basically the enemies of juice are heat and friction. So the centrifugal juicers, how they pull the juice from the fruit is they use a lot of high heat and friction through a very fast turning blade to create the juice. So when you have juice from one of those machines, you want to drink it really quickly because the nutrients and the enzymes have a shorter shelf life because they've been exposed to that heat and the friction. So with the cold press juicer, it's two tons of hydraulic pressure versus a fast turning blade. So you're retaining all of the nutrients and the enzymes. So it yields a much greater amount of nutrient density in live enzymes than it would from the other form of juicing that we're just talking about. And because of the lack of heat, it's also, if you bottle it, it's good for 3 days before the nutrients and the enzymes start to deteriorate. So,
right.
The major difference is you get a healthier juice. You're going to feel it quicker. You're going to get more energy. It lasts longer.
Yeah.
So overall, it's just it's a healthier, tastier product for you.
Right. Cool. And then you were talking about the juicer that you guys have. It wasn't meant to kind of be used in the production way that you guys are using it.
Yeah. Because it's a 2-stage process, because it slowly shreds all the fruits and vegetables, and then they go into a cloth bag, and then you use that 2 tons of pressure to extract the liquid from the fiber.
Okay.
It's a slow process, so we had to sort of, I guess, create a technique in which we're able to juice it quickly instead of, it used to take, I think when we first started, it probably took 4 minutes to make a juice. Wow. Now we're able to probably do it generally in under a minute. Okay. And it's just the speed and efficiency of literally how your hands move and how you're able to do 2 things at once, because you can always feed the juicing machine with the pulp while you're pressing a bag. So that was a major turning point for our business, just utilizing the machine. We had people come from New York and LA when we first launched, and they were still, actually to this day, are still shocked every time they see us use that equipment, because no one's really seen cold pressed juice being made right away in front of your eyes.
Oh, okay.
I think we're probably one of maybe 2 or 3 in the world that do cold pressed juice per order. And we probably were the first in the world to do cold pressed juice fresh per order. So and there's still nobody doing it in Vancouver. I don't think anybody's doing it in Canada. So
it's really about that system you guys created. And that's something that evolved while you guys were still in the truck and open, or was it you had it pretty nailed down before even?
I'd say we did a festival the first week
that we opened.
Wow.
And that probably changed a lot of how we did, because we were used to seeing maybe 30 people in the first week because it was our new business, and then we did a festival and it was probably 100 people, and it completely changed the way that you naturally have to make a product.
What festival was it?
The
Castellano Festival. It was the first Castellano Festival, and we showed up and we ran out of
an hour.
Supply in an hour, so we went back to our kitchen, drove back, and then sold out again because we just didn't really know what we were doing yet.
Yeah.
So
crazy.
Please let us back in. Yeah. We're gonna go get more apples and kale.
Where's that big red truck going?
Yeah.
We'll be right back. That's cool. Wow. And now, is that something that you guys feel definitely has differentiated you? I mean, now, but when was it? Because how long were you guys able to kind of be the only ones in the city before, the industry is really interesting. One thing I've noticed, so cold pressed juice, tacos, ice cream, floating,
pizza,
and spin.
Spinning now, yeah.
There's all these little, yoga, I guess, was maybe before all that probably. But you get these trend happening kind of things, and it's interesting. It's especially just when you're involved with it, you start noticing all the other industries kind of on the same path, and you're like, I know what that's like now.
Totally.
How long did you guys have before your first like cold press, like real kind of competitor came into the scene?
We had just about 2 years.
Nice.
Before we had any competition in the city.
That's great. It gives you such a great foothold, really.
Totally.
It's like, your name it's like you have a great brand in this city for sure. Like everyone knows about you guys, and it's like it's so recognizable too. Like the truck and like everything that you guys do. It's like it's funny how the city kind of embraces a business sometimes, and it seems like they've really done that with you guys.
Thanks. Yeah. I think, part of it was that we were two 24-year-old guys, and we were in a pink truck in Gastown. And I think for a lot of people that was unconventional.
Sure.
And there was like an interest in what we were doing, and the fact that when we first launched, like just cold pressed juice and our price point was so different to what consumers are used to at Booster Juice and Jugo Juice.
Right.
So there was an explanation that went behind the product and an education side of it. And I think that was able to lend us, almost was a benefit because it allowed consumers to speak to their friends about this new product or this new technique to juicing that they never heard of. And it actually worked in our benefit, I think.
Yeah.
I think we were lucky too. There was kind of a wave of new businesses that were like-minded that were kind of opening around the same time. Like, we became friends with people that were opening gyms and yoga studios, like the District or Tight Club or Cadence or Ernest Ice Cream and Cartem. So we kind of created this like almost family of small businesses. So we were all like constantly promoting each other and supporting each other. So I think it kind of helped elevate all of us kind of as a unit almost.
Right.
So, and we're all still like, that's who we bounce ideas off of.
It's like collaborative marketing.
Yeah.
What would you say is the number one or the most effective kind of collaborations that you guys have done?
The first collaboration kind of like set the tone for collaborations being a big part of our brand, and it was relatively a small one, but it just kind of introduced that to as a core value for us. We just kind of did a fun one with Erin Ireland, who makes banana bread. So we really liked her banana bread, and we were just teasing her like, let's throw it in a smoothie. So it turned into we did a banana bread smoothie for Movember.
Sounds delicious.
It was really good. It's really good.
Nice.
It was decadent. It was unlike anything else we have on our menu because it wasn't necessarily health forward,
right?
But it was very taste forward. So that was kind of our first collaboration, and Erin brought a lot of people to our truck, and she's does a great job in the community. So. Yeah. We kind of realized from the traction that we were getting from just what we thought was a simple collaboration that would be kind of a core value going forward. Now
so it was like just basically a co-promotion essentially. Like, was there any kind of like cross discounting going on, or just like you talk about us, we'll talk about you kind of thing?
That was just like
she had just launched, I think.
Yeah, she just launched her banana bread
a couple months. That was a main one. I think other big ones that kind of stand out. We had actually done around the same time we had worked with cancer, or fuck cancer, to sort of...
You can say that, it's cool.
Yeah, is that allowed?
Oh, yeah.
And that was where we actually designed a couple of juices, and we were donating some of the proceeds towards them. So I think, for like Zach said, that one and the Erin one really sort of allowed us to realize how much we enjoy community-based initiatives, and kind of taking our brand to a new level and really genuinely working within the community and utilizing the word community in such a genuine sense, was sort of spearheaded those two into kind of what we've created over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think like the fun of creating something with somebody else was almost contagious. Like bringing their values and our ideas and their ideas together, it became like really fun for us to do that. So often during collaborations, we kind of forget about the financial side, and we just want to create something fun, throw a party, throw an event that's something that like we would have fun attending, and we think people would have fun attending. So
I think two other ones that probably stand out over the last couple of years. We did a collaboration with Boom Magazine. So when we first moved into our facility, we did a huge night, which was like mind games.
Oh, I
essentially.
saw that. The big boom. I was like,
Yeah.
I saw that. I'm like, what is
Yeah.
that? I'm like, I thought it was just like, boom, we're open. That's what I thought it was.
They're, I think, they're North America's biggest art.
Yeah, they're one of the top. If it's not the top, it's the top 2 or 3 art and design websites in North America.
Cool.
Oh, wow.
So we came up with like a brain function juice that we consulted with a naturopath and a nutritionist for, and came up with a really cool brain elevating juice. And we threw like a board game puzzle mind trip party.
Nice.
Yeah.
Put it to the test.
Yeah.
The test,
Yeah,
and
that's cool.
That was a great night. We had hundreds of people.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was awesome. And then I'd say the other one was the one that we did during the summer. We collaborated with Native Shoes to create a one-of-a-kind juice truck shoe.
Cool.
And that was a kind of unique opportunity because it kind of put us maybe on a little bit more of an international scope, just like from the visual of our brand extending just outside of like the Vancouver scene. And for us, it was like, again, we had an awesome kind of like Native Shoe launch party.
Oh, yeah.
And that was kind of a funny one how that started. One of the owners, Scott Hawthorne, Gastown guy, always comes to the truck. We were teasing him that all our shoes get ruined because from the juice we need some rubber native shoes so that we can just hose them off at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So his marketing team sent our whole team native shoes like just on the house, which was
That's
awesome.
wicked.
And then we kept teasing him like, oh, now that we have the shoes, now we just need a custom juice truck shoe. So a few weeks later, his marketing team was like, so I hear we're doing a collab. So it was just kind of like a kind-hearted joke that turned into a collaboration.
That's awesome. Very cool. What was Gastown like when you guys first? Because I mean, it's changed so much since we've been here, which was 2013.
Totally.
So imagine 2 years before that is even more so. Like, what was it like when you guys first opened up?
It's pretty fun.
Yeah, it was. I think, part of the appeal that we had in India with all the juice bars was being curbside and being able to communicate with the customers. And I think being in Gastown really showcased that connection between the community and ourselves. And again, being fairly young, we were pretty upbeat and energized once we got into Gastown and really connected as much as we could with all the business owners. And a lot of pretty much everybody was like part of our appeal and why we actually enjoyed working on the truck for so long was just all the friendships that we naturally made.
Because we were a food truck, we didn't have an actual door that somebody had to open to come in to communicate with us. So we were, whether it was tourists looking for directions to somewhere, or the local community in the downtown east side, like wanting to tell us about their childhood. We were there for all those conversations, and we didn't really have anywhere to go because we're stuck there.
Yeah.
We don't have like I said, we don't have a door that separates us from the rest of the world. So the connections and the conversations we had were awesome. Like with everybody, it was always every day was an exciting day.
Yeah. And when you guys decided to do like the truck, because you were inspired by these juice stalls in India and Nepal and Sri Lanka and stuff, like. Is that what you guys were kind of hoping, is like to create this community vibe and like that's what you guys wanted to do?
Yeah, ironically, the reason we chose Gastown, just kind of a funny story. Part of our lengthy business plan was this whole evening concept where we would create a hangover helpers menu.
Oh yeah,
and we would be out, from 12 at night till 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
Because as consumers at that age, we were like, all I'd ever wanted at a late night, instead of getting a hot dog or a piece of pizza, was a juice or a smoothie. That's all we ever talked about. So part of the business plan and why we chose Gastown was to be next to the lamplighter. It was our whole vision was that we'd have these awesome epic nights, and we did it once. And never did it again.
And only once.
It was busy, and everything about it was actually fun. It was
like people were getting into fights in front of the truck.
Oh,
people were like
guys were,
like cutting their drugs on her.
Guys weren't happy when their girlfriends would want to pay $8 for a juice when it was 2 in the morning. So for us, we did it once, and I remember getting home at 5 in the morning, being like, "Let's not do that one again."
It's not worth it.
Yeah. Maybe one day we'll do it again, but it's on hold.
It's that magical legal substance known as alcohol.
Those special people that work night shifts.
Yeah.
They're a different breed of people. We had a really good night guy for a while that worked the front. How long did he do nights for? Lee.
Almost a year, maybe.
Almost a year. He was the perfect night guy.
That's right.
I miss him.
And now it's like we're kind of on and off at nights. Basically, when we find someone to do it.
Yeah.
But you got to find those right people.
So, how many people do you have on your team now? I mean, you started with just the two of you guys out of the truck. And now what are you up to?
40.
We're up to about 40 people. Yeah.
Holy shit. That's awesome.
It's a big team.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we have a great, and we're really fortunate to have an amazing team behind us.
Yeah. So you have, how many people would be based out of the truck typically?
So 3 people work the truck per day.
Okay.
And then we've got the storefront and then the production.
Right.
And then the chefs. And then we have a bit of an administrative team now. So.
Right. Very cool. It's huge.
Yeah. It's a
And
lot.
so what do you guys find that your roles have evolved into now at this stage of your existence? What are you guys into?
It's funny. We're always kind of recreating that and reevaluating it. We're actually trying to get back to the roles that we started with when we first started the truck.
Yeah.
We've been really focusing on business development and growth and community and collaborations, but we're trying to clear it up so that I can work on recipe development again, because that's what I really love doing, and Ryan more on kind of the operations side, making sure that's.
Yeah. It's, I mean, I think with so many more staff members, naturally our day-to-day routine just naturally evolved into sort of what it wasn't 2 or 3 years ago, where we're dealing a lot
managing
with
people.
Exactly. And stuff like that. And for us, again, no experience in that side of things. It was a learning curve for us, and we've been fortunate enough to have, some advisors and some helpers along the way.
Yeah.
But like Zach said, I think we are trying to find the root of what we personally enjoy the most in the business.
Right.
Which I think will help actually grow us even quicker.
Right. And get people doing those things that need to be done still, but just don't want to do them.
So you're going to bring in kind of like professional level managers to take care of all the business end of things. And you guys want to get back into your passions around it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Kind of like playing to our, as any small business owner, you have to wear all the hats, and you're not necessarily always playing to your strengths. But as the business has grown, we've got people that are now, strong where we're weak. So hopefully we can kind of prioritize so that we can play to our strengths more often.
Howard Schultz, he wrote the book Pour Your Heart Into It, the Starbucks book. Have you ever read that one?
I haven't read that one.
Really good one. And he said one of the hardest things for him when Starbucks started growing was to bring in people that could do the job better than him.
Yeah.
And like being like, it's okay, this is what this guy specializes in, and kind of letting go of that control of the company and actually being people who can do the job better than you.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So it's like a bit of an ego check there. But, but it's so important probably for growth.
Yeah, I'd like the whole team to be better than me.
Yeah. Zach's fiance actually works for us now, and she's probably better at most things than me and Zach are.
She's better than both of us.
Cool.
Nice.
Very cool. And now, when you guys started opening up 2 years later, you got getting competition in. What were your kind of like, and this is, really actually a personal question for us. How did you guys kind of deal with that initial competition coming in, and what were your mindsets, and how did you guys get through that, and how do you continue to kind of differentiate yourself in this pretty competitive industry, I'd say?
Yeah, at first it was a bit like a shot to our ego, probably. Like we both grew up playing sports, so we're both very competitive people. So it kind of first spoke to our competitive side, and we're like, we want to be the best. We want to blow everybody out of the water. But as it's kind of grown, we've kind of realized the more people that are drinking juice and the more people that are eating a plant-based diet, it kind of just raises the whole awareness. So we kind of can grow together. There's room for everybody. Like a big part of our business, we've grown into really wanting to work on environmental issues, and really the more people that are drinking juice and eating a plant-based diet, they're having a positive impact on the agricultural systems, on the environment. So we've kind of changed our outlook to used to wanting to be, always the best in everything and being hyper competitive with other companies, to now kind of seeing it as different pieces in the puzzle to do something good.
Like, I think I always remember, when we were 2 years in and all the competition starting, I remember my dad telling us to never really pay attention to the competition and just do what you do well. And I think that's now got to the point that I think we do follow that. Like, I think we actually avoid looking at too much of what's happening with the competition and focus on what we think we do best. And I think it's actually accelerated us a little bit more over the last couple months.
Okay.
I think that's really smart. Like, that's one thing, because we're kind of like 2 years behind where you guys were, So we opened up, and then there was this explosion of float centers in Vancouver. And one of my little things is like, I'm just gonna pretend they're not here. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna like put on blinders, like just focus on us and do us as best as we can,
Yeah.
and not worry about it so much. But
I mean, that's all you can do, right?
yeah,
If
but
you,
I get the feeling though, because there's you get weird feelings like you're like, oh man, look, they're coming in on our territory. You know, this is our thing. Why are you doing? But of course, it's gonna happen though, right?
And I'm a big believer, like I'm a product of like having, I care about convenience immensely. So, I mean, we both are huge supporters of a lot of the juice places simply on the fact that I go to a lot of the smoothie bars quite regularly.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, we're only open to 7. So, and I only go to the gym in the evening. So I generally go to all the other juice bars late at night.
Right.
And like and even in the morning, like I said, I go to Body Energy Club all the time because it's near
But
where
your
I
juice
live.
is there though.
Yeah,
Yes, our
but for the
juice is there.
smoothies, like I go all the time.
Right. No, that's true. Like, I mean, did you guys have any point though where you felt your business was actually threatened at all in terms of just like sales? I don't think was there a point where it's like, ooh, this is getting a little tight.
when competition was a new thing, for sure, it like threatened us, and like we'd probably spent too much time paying attention to the competition.
Were you guys like trying to do marketing, like just like let's ramp up marketing, or what were you guys?
I think we were trying to like focus on our points of differences more, so that people knew what their options were and why choosing us was different from choosing the competition. But as Ryan was saying, like now, I think after maybe 5 or 6 months after competition started coming on, we started to realize that our numbers weren't being affected. In fact, they were still growing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So at that point, we're like, shit, like it doesn't.
Yeah.
They've got their piece, we've got our piece. If we just do what we're doing as best as we can and continue to evolve and continue to grow, then hopefully people will still be interested in our product. We're fortunate that our numbers have continued to grow. If we saw a big dive, then maybe things would be differently and we'd be focusing more on other elements. But
Well, I understand. You guys did have a pretty big advantage. I started listening to this book called The 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing. There's a Tim Ferriss recommendation. He said it was the most important marketing book he's ever read. And it's really good.
I should be taking notes.
Yeah, you can listen to it. 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing.
Immutable.
But one of the things he said was that in that book was it's so important to be first and being first. And that once you kind of own a category and you're first in that category, it's really hard to get people to change their minds. Even if like the product was slightly better, people aren't going to switch over for us. It has to be like radically better in order for them to change. And a lot of them just won't.
I mean, I couldn't agree more because I think about regulars that we've had, over the last 4.5 years that are still coming to us every single day. Even if there's competitions that's even open closer to where they are, or it could even be more convenient, they still have come to us this whole time.
Right.
Yeah. And I totally agree with what you say with like pioneering a market. Like when I think of float tanks and float places, like Float House is such a memorable name.
Thank you.
I know there's lots of competition for you guys, but I can maybe think of a couple others. I can't think of. I don't know the names of the other ones. So.
Well, one of the nice things that we had going for us was we became the name Float House became synonymous with float centers. So people started calling float centers float houses, which is great. And then we've actually had a bunch of people like in different areas, a couple in the States, one in Australia, started using our name. Yeah. And we had to like make some phone calls and emails and be like, hey, it's kind of our name. And luckily they've all complied and be like, nobody wants to be that guy. And
we strangely get a lot of that too. Like we'll notice someone will send us a website from like Hong Kong or Denmark, and they'll be like, "Hey, that's our branding."
I just got an email from I just got an email from Groupon in the UK because there's a couple of juice companies that use our imagery all the time.
Take pictures from our Instagram. Like, hey, that's us. We don't live in Denmark.
I use one float image from this company in London, Floatworks. And they saw it, and they just emailed me like, "That's what I'm gonna take it down." I'm like, "Oh, sorry." And I did that once. But people will do that. Like people use our float images all the time.
Totally.
And a lot of times, I wouldn't mind it so much if they asked.
100%.
Yeah,
we used to always say that. I mean, it's a compliment. Like had they, couldn't agree more.
Yeah. But it's just interesting to hear because like you guys are like a couple years ahead of us in terms of like where you guys are at. So it's kind of like, oh, okay, this is how it's kind of worked out for you. And the cool thing for us is that like initially there might have been like a little bit of I guess cannibalization is the wrong one. Maybe whatever
Diffusion.
But like this September was better than last September, and now in last September all the other centers weren't open, so we saw a little bit of growth in this month, or last month, so which is a good sign.
I mean, I think ultimately, if people are drinking juice, if people are floating, they're probably drinking juice at all the juice bars, and they're probably have tried out all the float places.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think like you said too, convenience is huge. Like, you'll kind of default to where it's convenient unless you have like your favorite spot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's cool too. Cause I will go out of my way for certain things at certain times. You know what I mean? Like it just kind of, I don't know. We humans are weird. We kind of start
Creatures of habit.
creatures of habit. Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
And then you get affinity, you get like connections with people or a connection with like whatever brand or nostalgia, whatever it meant to you at that time that you just keep going back because your girlfriend went there and you miss her. Oh God. Oh wow. I'm opening up
too much. Or he's opening up.
because you're gonna see her again and you're gonna maybe like have that eye connection and then you just get back together
And
have
you get
these-
together over juice and you talk it all out.
and it's like, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
Speaking about your branding, did you guys get help with your branding, or was it just something you guys did? Because like your branding is really iconic and it really stands out, which you guys have done a great job with.
we worked with a local branding agency called Glassford & Walker.
Cool.
And when I say agency, it's really just a husband and wife. She's from Perth, Australia, and he's from Vancouver. And we noticed their branding just from the restaurants that we like to eat at, from Bell Bay and L'Abattoir. We were just like asking the servers who designed this place, and we found out that was Glassford & Walker. So we looked them up and called them, and they were willing to work with a couple of young guys that
Wanted to do a pink truck.
wanted to do a pink food truck. So
Thanks, but watermelon.
more
It's
watermelon.
watermelon. That's the
Yeah.
actual color.
It's funny, like when we first launched, people were always like, "Oh, I just thought it would be a couple girls working this thing."
Nice. Did they give you different? Are there some old juice truck logos that didn't make the cut before? Do you guys got like different samples that are out there? You should make some retro T-shirts.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So they came up with the brand.
Yeah.
We gave them some ideas of what we wanted that experience to be, and they've been great to work with.
They
So
nailed it, man.
they-
Really.
yeah,
I mean, it's cool to how it's evolved. I mean, we did the same with Float House actually, and I think if you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to start up, it's so worth getting someone with a design background to
100%.
do that. Like, especially it's your brand. I mean,
Yeah,
it's like
it's everything.
It's huge. So it's so worth it. to
We've
get
always
a
said that
professional.
part of our biggest advice that we'd give to young entrepreneurs is if you're going to start a product-based or retail-based business, or even service-based business, having a branding team behind you is well worth the money at the beginning.
Absolutely.
Because as you progress, changing your brand 6 months in or a year in can sometimes be devastating.
Yeah.
So it's better to start with and allocate some resources financially to it.
I agree totally.
So do you guys have business backgrounds or no? Yeah, us either, really.
Well, yes and no, I guess. Like both of our fathers have small businesses, so we grew up in that was our like day-to-day language. That was our atmosphere that we grew up with.
Right.
We both worked for my dad from like 12 to 23. But I went to art school and studied painting. I went to Emily Carr, and Ryan studied city planning. So
Not really related.
So has it been like a pretty big learning curve for you guys?
I think being naive about what business was actually about might have helped us. Like, I think we didn't I always tell everybody, like, we never actually focus on the financial side of our business up until maybe 8 months ago, as an example. And I think that part of the process really allowed us to be as creative as possible, and to put where we enjoyed most. So if community was something that we both immensely cared about, we did dedicate a lot of time to that, and probably didn't look at the financial repercussions of it.
Right.
But it allowed our brand to get bigger and bigger by just spreading awareness of what we were doing.
Right.
So that kind of like young, naive side of what we were doing
we're-
actually benefited us, I'd say.
Yeah.
And now I think we've evolved and learned a lot about what it's like to run a business. We have like an advisor that kind of helps us and coaches us through sort of like the growing pains of what it's like to have a small business that, a year ago was only 8 staff and all of a sudden it quadruples over time. How do you manage all those things?
What caused it to quadruple? Was it like the deliveries or the store?
I would say the manufacturing component of our business. We, started selling our first real retail store was the Wyoga locations in Vancouver. That was kind of our first thing about, say, 2 years ago. And then now we sell at over 40 grocery stores all across the Lower Mainland. So that big jump made a big difference in how we operate our business.
Nice.
And just managing all the logistics behind it and the production of so much product.
Yeah. how many liters? How do you guys measure it? How do you measure it? Like how much how many fruit you blast through a day, or how many liters of juice?
A lot.
Do you,
We put some like formulations together
Yeah.
that we use like an Excel spreadsheet program to figure out if we need to
thousands of liters of juice a day? Tens of thousands?
It's probably between like the production and the storefront and truck. It's like a couple thousand juices a day that we're probably making.
Cool. Wow. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of future do you guys see this going towards? Like, are you guys? I mean, I'm sure you have your plan, but like, what opportunities have come to you because of this success, and which ones maybe have you declined just because it wasn't the right fit? Just out of curiosity, and which kind of directions are you growing towards, or how do you see it growing?
We've actually said no to a lot, like through the first 4 years of business.
What kind of offers have you had?
Just like franchise offers and
all over the world.
And all over the place, from like India to Abbotsford to
South Africa, all over the US.
People approaching you for franchising
all the time.
And just like not being ready. Maybe that's a direction that we could go in the future, but not feeling right for us at the time. We've always wanted to, we kind of listen to our gut and what feels right with most decisions. So that didn't necessarily feel like a good fit at the time.
Yeah.
So we've tried to grow things fairly organically, just with what feels right between Ryan and I.
And there's only the two of us. There's no investors or no partners. So I think that organic side of the business was the fact that we were just kind of doing as much as we can, utilizing, what was available in terms of business cash flow and obviously what we could get from the bank to kind of grow to the point we are now. And, we're opening up another location, which I'll keep fairly secretive.
Sometime 2016?
Might be a little bit before.
Yeah, should be by the end of this year.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then we're looking at, maybe a couple more storefronts in Vancouver. But we're fairly happy with what we have now. And like Zach always, like work-life balance is very important to the two of us. And it was something that we really didn't have for the first 4 years. We want to always make sure that we have balance in our lives.
Cool. Yeah, actually, I was going to get into that a little bit, just kind of your personal, like, what do you guys do? Maybe I'll start with you, Zach. Like, what do you do to kind of balance out, work and life? And what are things that you kind of prioritize in your life to, how do you start your days? All that kind of stuff. Any kind of rituals or habits you kind of do?
You better say your fiance here.
Waking up. Having my fiance in my life is great. But I'm like
the best.
She's the best. She is the best. She's awesome. But like my core needs, things that I need to do for myself to stay charged, to stay motivated. I need to spend time outdoors. Like hiking is my number one thing that I always want to be doing.
Do you ever go by yourself?
I go by myself. I try to go with people if they'll come with me. It's usually a battle every weekend trying to get people to come hiking with me.
What's maybe one of your most favorite hikes that you do that maybe people wouldn't be too familiar with?
Oh, too familiar with?
Relatively.
That's a good question.
Maybe a gem in the rough or something.
A gem in the rough. My favorite hike's always like the last one that I did. I like it's actually one that lots of people do, but if I need like a quick hit of nature just to like de-stress or get motivated, I just go to the Lynn Valley headwaters because it's super accessible, easy to get to.
It's a great one.
I've been there a lot this year.
Yeah, so that's probably the one I go to most through the year because you can go to it all winter as well.
You should go to the falls?
Yeah, I like to go down to the falls.
Have you ever gone to Lynn Lake from there?
Yeah.
I did that. That nearly killed me, man. It was awesome. When I was coming back, I was just like, I was dead. But it was spectacular. It was really cool.
And there's so many hikes from there. Like the one that I really want to do that I haven't done it's called Haynes Valley. It starts in the headwaters and finishes in Grouse Mountain.
Right. Yeah.
I haven't done that one. That one's
nice.
I want to go with somebody. So
if
anyone wants to come with me, let me know.
Cool. Very cool.
My favorite one I've done here is probably Panorama Ridge in the Garibaldi region. It's just like nothing you'll see anywhere else. It's just beautiful.
I haven't done that. Cool.
So getting into nature.
And probably my other thing that kind of de-stresses me and takes me away from work or just puts me in a good place is watching movies.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like just putting either a documentary or a good movie on for 2 hours. Just by the end of it,
So how many times have you watched Sick, Fat, and Almost Dead, or whatever that one is?
I've watched that a few times. Probably we did a bunch of screenings when we first launched because it helped. Yeah, that was probably a movie that really brought the masses to juicing as well. So we did a bunch of screenings of that when we first launched. So I've probably seen it like 6 or 7 times.
Yeah.
Cool. Very cool.
What about you, Ryan?
How about you, Ryan? What do you do to kind of keep your tank full?
Similar to Zach, movies are like my go-to in my life.
Yeah.
Like I think it's like the one time where I can actually fully escape from anything.
Yeah.
So I probably watch like 3 movies a week actually.
Oh, nice.
And even if it's super late at night, even if I can get something in.
Yeah.
And then I'd say going to the gym. I think it's always been a big thing for me. I think getting to the point where I sort of force my body to go beyond what I always thought was the scope. I was a fairly small guy growing up, and Zach used to bully me all the time. So I think it's this like side of me that's like, I love the gym. So I like try to go as 5-6 days a week.
Nice.
And generally quite late at night when the gym's quite empty.
Cool.
Yeah.
Which gym do you go to?
The YMCA.
Don't tell them. It's going to get swamped.
Yeah, it's gonna get swamped. And I know it's
We're gonna be
down.
like there, like Ryan.
And swimming actually. Swimming was my new thing this year.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I
Any
like
good
swimming.
movies lately?
See, the best movies I think this year I watched was Love and Mercy. That's the biopic on Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys.
Yeah.
That was probably my favorite one. Citizen 4 was really good.
Cool.
The Edward Snowden documentary.
Okay.
And Cowspiracy, which is the first time I watched it.
Yeah,
this
actually,
year,
I was just going to bring that up. Cowspiracy. I just saw it last night, and if you haven't seen Cowspiracy, definitely watch it for sure. Prepare to, question a lot of things in your life for sure. And yeah, I mean, you guys are both obviously very pretty large advocates of obviously a healthy lifestyle, juicing, a plant-based diet. And some of the stats that were coming out of that documentary are just like, it's crazy, in terms of, and the big thing about Cowspiracy was, well, there's 2 big things. One was that, many big things, but how the methane production from flatulent cows and just the whole agricultural farming is the worst element to contributing to global warming and the greenhouse effect. It's more so than carbon emissions from cars and factories and everything. This agriculture, which is crazy. Yeah. And then the other thing that was really crazy, this was going to bring up before we started talking, was how they were basically, they didn't say it outright, but how like the meat and the agricultural lobbyists are paying like Greenpeace and shit like that. That was crazy.
I know.
Because the guy's like, why aren't these like Greenpeace and these other environmental activist communities not talking about this? How is nobody talking about this? And so he was really digging into it, and fucking Greenpeace is apparently taking money from lobbyists to not do that. Yeah, and that's fucking scary.
That is scary. I mean, then that probably goes across the board to politics, to everything, you know?
I was at Blends today, and they give you this, I got a tea, and they gave me this bright pink cup for breast cancer tea, because October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And I had to like look at it and be like, this is some pretty flashy marketing going on right here. And, I mean, there's definitely some conspiracies around cancer and like that. There are like cures and shit, and there's a lot of money behind the whole, pharmaceutical. Who knows, right? But I'm just like, it made me question. I'm like, this is some pretty flashy stuff that we see in the NFL now. We see it all over the place.
Yeah.
I'm questioning it, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Now I wouldn't be surprised.
There's actually a documentary that I watched. I can't remember what it was called, but it's on like the Pink Ribbon campaign, and I think it had a lot had to do with things. Lancome, as like the cosmetic company trying to copyright like the pink ribbon and stuff like that.
Oh, crazy!
As part of their brand.
But I mean, the big picture. What I'm trying to get into is like, I don't know. I mean, you guys obviously promote plant, but I saw that movie and I was really just like, it
charged.
Yeah, well, it charged, but also just like, man, we're on a rough road.
But you know what? I think I actually got a lot of hope out of that documentary, because I realized people focus on the transportation and you hear all the time that we can't make a difference, or like it has to come from government or a big corporation. But that movie kind of made me realize that all of our food choices collectively can make the biggest difference. So every time we have a meal, every time we purchase something, we're making a vote for the world that we want to see. So if I'm realizing that the choices that I'm making for my meals have a big influence on the world, that's a lot of power. And if people tune into that, if they start making conscious food decisions and mindful food decisions, we can make a big difference for the environment just with the choices that we make for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Probably the biggest impacts you can do are making your choices about what you're eating. You know,
Because when you think about it, like how many people, I mean, I think in our communities, people are pretty tuned in, but as a mass, fast food is huge. Like processed food is huge. If we wipe that out and made mindful food decisions for plant-based, ethically sourced foods, we'd have a very different world that we're looking at.
And we always kind of talked about how a couple months ago with the drought going on in California, how the one subject matter that was never really talked about was the animal agriculture industry and its effect on water, and how there was all these initiatives to reduce your sprinkler use and to reduce your shower time and stuff like that. But those have such minimal impacts compared to what you can do.
Yeah.
If there was
just don't have that hamburger.
Exactly. You save so much water based on eating, non-animal agricultural.
Somehow
products.
almond milk became like the bad guy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Meat and dairy avoided all the criticism during the drought, but almond milk got a lot of.
Has the drought, like this is a little bit off topic, I guess. But has the drought affected you guys just with like
No,
cost of
fortunately, that during
vegetables?
these months, BC is there's quite an abundance of
Buy
fruits and
locally,
vegetables
yeah.
to be able to get. So we actually, price points in Vancouver actually stayed fairly, I'd say, average.
If it happened during like January or February, then
When
for
a lot
sure.
of stuff's going from
But
California and
during
Washington.
the summertime,
Okay, so you guys definitely switch. Now, are you guys switching companies, or do your suppliers kind of switch where they get their source from?
Both, I'd say. Right now, like during the summer months, there's 80% of produce is available locally. And then I say in the winter time, it probably goes down to maybe 15 to 20% of what's available locally to purchase.
Interesting.
And a lot of time, it's just your supplier naturally carries a lot of the BC grown produce.
Right. Yeah. But your general menu, though, that you guys have, it kind of like you guys can keep it pretty consistently. Like we need to have these ones year round for sure, and like you got to do that planning, and then have your seasonal ones that come in as well.
Our food-based program is much more reflective all the time of what's available in season.
Right.
So we're always adjusting our food program to ensure that we can utilize as much, especially in the wintertime, to utilize as much as we
You mean
can.
like, food,
that's
like out of the
cafe,
store?
yeah.
for like our salads and stuff, we try to utilize like the local farmers as much as we can, especially the Vancouver inner city farmers. So we buy a lot of greens from within the city.
Cool.
For as much as we can.
Yeah. Cool. And then how much are you guys kind of eyeing and watching the development of like permaculture and stuff like that, and that kind of farming practice? And then where do you know where is that kind of farming practice within Canada and like and North America?
I think it's changing. Like monoculture is not sustainable.
Right.
Although it's the big farms that practice that have the money.
Yeah.
Permaculture seems to be the smaller guys that are practicing that.
Yeah.
I'd say things coming out of places like Pemberton and stuff like that. If of the local regions, I would say, are probably the one place sort of pioneering.
Yeah,
But-
because I think that's an evolution that needs to happen as well. Is like because apparently we had a guy named on our podcast called Ryan Hill, and he's a permaculture specialist guy. He's super interesting. It's one of our most viewed and listened to episodes actually, and he was just telling us how like organic's good, but permaculture is actually better nutrient dense. And it's sustainable.
It's completely
and
sustainable.
you get better yields. Like it's a better farming practice. So it's just like they just need to that's a huge, again, these mega changes, these mega changes are, there's a lot of momentum around those other pathways, a lot of money around these other pathways.
Well, I think that's the thing. We need to have it's gradually happening, but we need to have major shifts in a lot of ways. Like like you touched on, it's not sustainable to have monoculture. It's not good for the soil. It's not good for the plants. It's not good for the environment. Like it creates drought. If you look at people farmed thousands of years ago, like the Mayans and the Native Americans, like it was always permaculture, and they created systems just with plants that would sustain each other, like pairing corn with something else. Like corn's actually a very destructive crop, and it's the biggest crop in North America for sure.
Right.
So yeah, hopefully permaculture is a growing system that we're going to see more and more.
Yeah. I think that ultimately, and this is the frustrating thing, and kind of timingly, we're coming up to our election here in Canada, October 19th. So go out and strategically vote, please.
Yes, please.
But like in my mind, if you're going to be in a government position, you're kind of standing up like, we're representing this nation's best interests and these people's best interests. So they're claiming they're leaders, right?
Yeah.
They're leaders in these for this nation, and yet, they're not really acting like leaders, in my opinion.
Yeah. We actually did a really awesome event last night with Patagonia.
Okay.
Where we put on sort of like a vote for the environment evening, and brought down a couple speakers to be able to sort of educate the masses, not so much on which party to choose for, but sort of each party's platform,
Right.
and their environmental stance, and just some really awesome resources that are available for people to educate themselves.
Yeah,
So
actually, in a nutshell, I mean, because this episode is probably going to launch right around that time. Where were there different platforms about environmental stance? If you guys can just regurgitate that.
So we had a couple people out that were speaking. So if you want to get more information, Pollinize is a really great app and website.
Cool.
Dogwood Initiative is always doing great things locally. They're always pushing environmental causes and basically like democratic rights. Those were the two, and the West Coast Environmental Law Firm was there, and they do a lot to kind of stick up for environmental rights because unfortunately our current government isn't, so people need to fight for it. So like some of the current platforms, Green's always obviously very environmental friendly and forward and progressive. The NDP seems to have some very progressive thoughts on environment. I'm not sure their stance. They haven't really come out clearly on their stance on some of the pipeline stuff.
Right.
So that's a little bit in question. Same with liberals. I think they've said that they'll commit a good amount of money to green energy, to solar and other sustainable sources, but they haven't really.
They're a little bit more on the fluff side of things. I don't think they've come out with anything too tangible.
Right.
Yeah.
And they may be pushing for, they'll release some information just prior to the election, I'd say.
And then our conservative friends in office, they do a lot of damage to our environment.
Yeah.
They're probably the biggest. Canada was an environmental leader for a long time. Greenpeace started here, Sea Shepherd started here.
Right.
Most of our prime ministers have been environmentally progressive until this current government. So in terms of environmental stances, I can't say too much good about the Conservative Party.
Yeah. No, it's going to be an interesting election for sure. See how it all unfolds, and but even still, you got to think how these are massive changes that need to happen on multiple different levels, and but I think you're right. I think the biggest thing is what you can do with your daily choices. And the resources are out there. The education's out there. You can go hunt it down. Go find out how to more vegetarian options, vegan options. Learn how to cook like that, all that kind of stuff. I know that is what I'm going to start to explore more.
Totally. I think people ultimately always dictate what the market follows. Like if people stop if everybody, Teslas aren't affordable right now, but if everybody started buying hybrid cars and electric cars, it would force the big industry to evolve. Yeah. People ate more plant-based, it would force the industry to evolve.
Well, I think you're going to see that next March when Tesla launches a $35,000 Model 3. Yeah. Man, that's going to
change the world.
Everyone's going to get that.
Yeah.
Why would I?
It's going to be the new Honda Civic.
Yeah.
The only argument I would say against that is that the Leaf's been out for a long time.
Yeah.
But there are electric options that are more affordable now. But everyone wants.
I think the aesthetics has always been an issue for that part. I think the Prius has done some great things, but I think aesthetically, it's not the most.
Look how well they've done for what they got.
I know. It's great that every taxi
but because they're not the prettiest car in the world.
Don't get me wrong. I want everyone to go electric for sure.
Yeah.
We saw that one. What was the one at the grind?
That was the Nissan. It was a newer Nissan.
The Leaf,
and it was good though.
The Leaf's cool,
and it was fairly big and roomy. Cool? It was bigger than what I have now. So I'm I'd go for that.
I think something that Tesla's done well. I think for changes for the masses, it has to be cool. It has to be something that's fun, approachable, and kind of cool. So if it's not approachable, if it's a little bit intimidating, or if it's not that cool, people are not going to jump on that bandwagon.
Good old Elon's got us ready for biochemical weapons attacks now.
Did you guys see that?
No, I didn't see that.
In the latest car that they just released, he's got a bioweapons defense mode on the car.
Yeah, bioweapon defense mode.
So basically, you press this button and it filters all the air, so even biological agents can't get through. So you have this nice little bubble that you're traveling around in.
Just in case.
Do you think the juice truck needs that?
I was going to say, once the juice truck
defense mode activate,
that man is Tony
transforms.
Stark.
Yeah.
That's wild. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, and it's going to be really, it's been amazing watching you guys from our standpoint. Obviously, when we opened up, you were still in the truck, you guys were developing, then you opened your store, and the production's just been exploding. Seems like every New Year's you're on every single radio TV station somehow.
How do you guys do that?
A lot of it happens naturally. It's funny, whenever we try to get press, we don't get any press.
Do you find that people just
Don't
start to call
try to
you
get
now?
press.
Yeah.
That's wicked.
We find when we go for sales, it never works. Like if we try to reach
try to
out,
push something.
if we try to push something, it never works. And if we try to get any press, so
I feel
we've
like
been
that's
fortunate.
true.
Things coming to us and it's probably the humble side of us now that things coming to us, we are immensely appreciative. And same
We just try to make really genuine connections with people, and if they happen to work for a magazine and they're looking for something to do health related in January, we've been fortunate that they've reached out to us.
Cool.
But literally every time that we're like, hey, this is a story and we want people to read it, nobody.
Happen.
I literally
Nobody-
saw. I think it was
yeah.
not this year, but the year before. I was like, CTV, City TV. It was
we did
next day. I was like, what? These guys are crushing. It's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
It was wicked though. I mean,
yeah.
I'm like, man,
they're actually great. Everyone at Global and CTV have actually been awesome for us.
Very cool.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
great people.
no, it's huge. Well, I mean, massive congratulations to this point. I mean, I'm sure we're gonna see a lot more creativity and evolution out of you guys, and
Thanks.
we really appreciate just the connection that we've been able to make here in Gastown. You guys have been really cool meeting with us in different times, and we really appreciate it. I'm just really thankful for you guys to come and do this podcast with
Oh,
us.
it's our pleasure.
Oh, thanks for having us. And
So,
This is a wild Friday night for me and Zach.
Yeah. There you go.
I'd probably be at home watching a movie right now. So
Yeah.
this is
I'd
good.
be watching the movies.
you're making a movie, son. There you go.
Friday night, you'll be watching yourself.
Yeah, I'd be like, yeah, look at my no.
Yeah, and thank you for creating a market in the health and wellness industry. Like mental health is huge, and I think the awareness for it's really growing. And you
Yeah.
guys have been real pioneers for making people aware of that. So I think that's
thank you.
great.
Thank you. Yeah.
You guys.
Yeah, we're excited about some of the research coming down the pipe. They're doing research out of the Laureate Brain Institute down in Oklahoma, right? And the preliminary data is saying that they're finding really good a possible treatment for anxiety disorders.
Cool.
Yeah, which could be a really good one for the tank. And I think the next one they're going to be testing is how it can help with body image disorders.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
and that's what this place specializes in.
Yeah.
They're specialized in anorexia,
Yeah.
bulimia, things
Yeah.
like that.
Do you know what the connection is?
Something along this. He broke down some of the pretty hardcore neuroscience of it, and I don't even want to attempt to regurgitate it, but it was real, because actually the really cool thing is the stuff that they're learning through the research they're doing with the float tank, because now they have this really formal lab set up with they have an fMRI machine that they plunk people in right after the float and all these special gizmos. It's really rad. The stuff that they're researching, in terms of these anxiety and disabilities, or not disabilities, but disorders, is actually they're learning about neuroscience. It's not just how the float tank is affecting neuroscience. They're actually learning about neuroscience pathways and the dopamine pathways because of this. It's
Interesting.
So it's really neat to see what they're coming out. And this was just their initial preliminary data, because they just had the lab built, and now I talked to the researcher, the head guy. His name's Justin Feinstein, and he's like, wait till next year at the float conference, because he's just going to have a whole year's worth of awesome data.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
And that's what we really need to. There is
Yeah.
science definitely behind float tanks. It was actually studied at UBC by Dr. Sudfield, a psychology department there. And there is a lot of hard science behind it, but it's not really that recent. And they need a little bit more recent stuff to come out to really show people that it's not just a bunch of woo-moo magic happening in there or something.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
We've been really into the emergenetics, the emotional intelligence stuff.
epigenetics, yeah.
I'd be really interested to see, because your emotional intelligence can change and adapt and evolve.
Absolutely.
In contrast to your IQ, your EQ, your emotional intelligence. So it'd be interesting to see how floating would have an effect on that as well.
absolutely.
Well, we had Dr. Gabor Mate on the podcast a while ago, and he's all about that. And he still hasn't come into float, even though he said he would. He had him on record saying that he'd come.
Call him out.
He hasn't come
His
in.
brother came in.
But the good thing is he does respond to email still. So
Yeah,
that's a good thing.
Well, it's on the podcast now. He has to come.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, he said it on the
this
podcast.
right now.
We had him on the
Oh,
podcast, so we
jeez.
gotta
Yeah.
record. We'll send him that every month. Hey,
Send him this video.
He's pretty awesome. He does some pretty amazing work.
he's a busy man.
Yeah.
But so are you guys. So thanks for your
Oh,
time.
thank you
thank
so
you.
much. It's a
Awesome.
pleasure.
And is there anything upcoming that you guys want to kind of get out to the people?
Like you said, make sure you get out there and vote for the election. It's a big
Cool.
one.
Yep.
And
stay tuned for future locations.
yeah,
sounds
stay
like.
tuned for future
Very exciting
locations.
stuff,
and
man.
eat your vegetables.
Awesome.
Eat your vegetables.
Drink your vegetables.
Drink your
your
vegetables.
vegetables.
There
Yeah.
you go. All right, guys. Thanks so much again. And until next time,
Thank you.
Thanks,
All
guys.
right.
to whatever is.
To whatever is.